the more altered you feel emotionally inside of you because of some condition in your outer world. Let's say something causes you to feel angry or something causes you to feel sad. The moment you stop feeling like Laura and you start feeling altered, the change in your internal state causes you to pay attention to what's happening in your outer world. And so you narrow your focus on the cause.
Hello friends, today Joe Dispenza will explain how to break our tendency to always react to circumstances in our environment. Joe Dispenza often says that people are like magnets, attracting things and circumstances in their life based on their beliefs, thoughts and feelings. Imagine what your life would look like if you could only attract circumstances you wanted. We all are capable to do that, but before we do, we need to understand this concept of creation presented by Joe Dispenza today. The outer environment is our own creation, whether we accept that notion or not, so listen carefully till the end for full understanding. If you have any question or you want to share your opinion, please do that in comments below. Let's begin.
Stress causes us to overfocus on our body. If you're being chased by Tyrannosaurus Rex and you get that rush of adrenaline and you move into emergency mode, you're going to use all of your body's resources to outrun that predator. Well, but if it's not T-Rex and it happens to be a coworker that's sitting right next to you at work, you're turning on that same response, and what was once very adaptive becomes very maladaptive, because when you turn on the stress response and you can't turn it off, now you're headed for disease. So people get addicted to the rush of adrenaline, the rush of stress hormones that arouse the brain and body. So in a sense, they start needing the people and conditions in their life to reaffirm their addiction to that emotion. In other words, they become addicted to the life they don't even like. And so this is why change is so hard. At the same time, when you're threatened by a predator, you see danger, all of your attention goes to the outer world. You're narrowing your focus on the cause of your change in your internal state. So that becomes a habit. People all of a sudden start narrowing their focus on everything material. Well, in the quantum world, reality is both a particle and a wave, matter and energy. And so we begin to exclude the field of possibilities when we're in the habit of focusing on just the material world. And by the same means, when you're threatened, you're always beginning to select the possibility in the future based on your memories of the past. You're thinking about how much time you have to get to run away from that predator. So all of your attention is on the body, all of your attention is on your environment, and all of your attention is on time. And now where you place your attention is where you place your energy. And now you're locked into the rules of Newtonian physics, where you have to be play by a certain amount of rules. In other words, your matter trying to change matter. Now, when this happens, all of a sudden the ego gets endorsed and become overly selfish. Now we're selfish. We're trying to take care of ourselves. We become self-indulgent, self-important, self-centered, self-aggrandizing. It's all self-pity. It's all about the self. And this is where people wind up in trouble because there's only a few things you can do. You can compete, you can manipulate, you can lie, you can fight for it, you can try to predict it, try to control it. That's matter trying to change matter. So then the ego gets more frustrated because it can't produce an outcome, and then those very hormones of frustration further endorse the ego, and now the person's on the hamster wheel. They can't get out of their life. By very nature of the concept of change, to change is to be greater than your body, to be greater than your environment, and to be greater than time. So then we have to lay down the very thing we used our whole lives to get what we want for something greater to happen. And that breaking that habit of how we've created or gotten things that we want in our lives is the work. That's the work. So when we create from the field instead of from matter, we have to shed the ego and we have to shed the identity. Now that sounds really simple in a phrase, but if you keep waking up every morning and thinking the same thoughts, making the same choices, doing the exact same things, creating the same experiences, and producing the same emotions every single day, and those same emotions drive your very same thoughts, your biology, your neurocircuitry, your neurochemistry, your hormones, and even your genes are going to be the same. In other words, you're programming your body into a predictable future based on what you did in the past, and now we lose our free will to the program. So you do that for 20 or 30 years, and all of a sudden you decide to sit down and find the present moment, and your body says, well, I'm on a program. I got to get up. I got to make breakfast. I got to go to the bathroom. I got to check my emails. I got to watch the news. I got to take a shower. Your body's trying to get up and do things, and you're asking it to stay in the present moment. And so then the work is reconditioning the body to a new mind. It's training the mind and the body to be in the present moment and not run to the future or the past. So then the work then is finding that present moment and having a free will that's greater than the program, having a mind that's greater than the body to condition the body to a new mind. And in the beginning, it's tedious. It takes a lot of effort. But if you know the formula and you know how to do it, we have so much research to prove that you could be sick, you could be overweight, you could have a terrible past, you could have all kinds of things that people excuse themselves for. Too old, it doesn't matter. We've measured these changes on every age, every body type, every culture, every race, every disease. People once they understand the formula, then they know how to overcome their ego.
So according to Joe Dispenza, our thoughts and feelings create different chemicals in our body. The emotions of happiness create chemistry that's very different from the chemistry created from the emotions of depression. That's how powerful our mind is. It even changes our physical body. We live in the quantum field, in the quantum soup, and we choose circumstances from the quantum soup every second of our life. Conscious or not, we are literally the magnets. Your task here is to choose your thoughts and feelings consciously, not letting bad feelings and limited thoughts slip into your awareness. Those subconscious programs keep us in the past. Let's go on.
We're starting to piece together this wonderful model, Laura, that shows that there is a very direct correlation between the brain and the body, and there's a direct correlation between the brain and this invisible field called the quantum field. And when the brain starts processing a new stream of consciousness, there's a change in energy. And when there's a change in energy, all of a sudden you see more energy moving into the brain and the light bulb gets brighter and the person is going into a super aware or super conscious state. In fact, they're having an inward experience that's more real than the reality outside of them. And since experience enriches the brain, it begins to mold and shape the brain and change the brain from the past. By the same means, that experience produces an emotion. But the emotion isn't sadness, pain, suffering, guilt, shame. The emotion is this quality that is very difficult to explain in words, but it's a level of love that is not chemical. It's very electric. It's an arousal that gives the body this new information. So it's that elevated emotion that begins to select and instruct new genes, and genes make proteins, and proteins are responsible for the structure and function of the body. And the expression of proteins is the expression of life. And so in a matter of seconds, you see a person with a disease get a biological upgrade in one particular second. So we could say then they're upgrading the human operating system. So we're getting really close to closing the gap between knowledge and experience. What's the significance of that? Well, we've measured gene expression. We said, can people, by thinking new thoughts, making new choices, doing new things, having new experiences in 4 days and experiencing new emotions, are they able to regulate new genes? And we found out that just in 4 days, people signal the gene that reduces cancer and tumor growth, 2 genes that reduce oxidative stress, anti-cancer, anti-aging, anti-heart disease, anti-stroke, anti-neurodegenerative, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, genes that cause nerve cells to grow, not just making new connections, but the growth of new neurons in response to novel experiences. All kinds of new genes that are expressing themselves so the person in 4 days can literally change their genetic destiny. We've measured heart coherence. When a person is angry and frustrated and resentful, their heart beats out of order. When they're feeling elevated emotions like gratitude, and appreciation, and thankfulness, and love, and joy, they're able to create more coherence in their heart. When the heart starts beating coherently, it begins to produce a measurable magnetic field. That field of energy is frequency, and all frequency carries information. And now they're beginning to expand their energy and connect to some invisible field. That frequency then, that energy can carry the thought of their health, can carry the intent of their wealth. Suffering can't do that. So many people, they're trying to think positively with the 5% of their conscious mind, but their body has been programmed into negativity. So mind and body are in opposition. So teaching people how to regulate and actually see that when they do that, if they're wearing a monitor, you can see the heart go into this great state of order, and they can self-regulate. So the significance of that is when they return back into their lives, they have the ability to change certain imbalanced emotional states to more healthy, balanced states. And so we have research to show that people can sustain this state for 45 minutes to an hour at a time. And now the question is, if you can do it with your eyes closed in a meditation, the next step is to be able to do it with your eyes open in your life. And so when you're able to self-regulate that means then you're not taking your attention off your inner world of thoughts and feelings because of some condition in your outer environment. You're able to shorten the stress response, and that's called emotional intelligence. We've measured the energy of the room. We now know that in every event, the energy of the room gets bigger. That's available energy for people to heal with, to create a new life. We've measured the energy around people's bodies. When they're literally in a transformative moment, the body actually liberates energy. They go from particle to wave, from matter to energy, and they're building their own electromagnetic field. And now that's the resource for them to begin to create with. And when we live so addicted to the hormones of stress and all of our attention is on the body, the environment, and time, we draw from this field of vital life force surrounding our body and turn it into chemistry. And the stress response actually draws from that field and taps the body's resources. And so there is no field to heal. There is no energy to create with. We've measured immune response. In 4 days, people trading anger and aggression and guilt for an elevated emotion. Will it strengthen their immune system? By 50%. In 4 days, their immune system got stronger. So that's significant because we see people with MS and lupus and food sensitivities and anaphylactic conditions literally in 4 days heal themselves, and that's because they're changing their internal state. We've measured telomeres, the shoestrings on the end of DNA, to say if a person does a meditation for 60 days, will it lengthen their life? And 74% of the people that were involved in the study lengthened their life 4 to 8 days. I mean, if they did it for a year, you can see they're changing their genetic destiny. So we now know that common people around the world are doing the uncommon. We now know that there's a language to be able to explain it, and the language is science. Science is the contemporary language of mysticism. It's what demystifies the mystical. And combining quantum physics with neuroscience, with neuroendocrinology, with psychoneuroimmunology, with epigenetics, all of those sciences point the finger at possibility. So when people can begin to reason by pure reason, pure logic, that they're not doomed by their genes, they're not hardwired to be a certain way for the rest of their lives, if they apply the formula. And it's difficult in the beginning to get beyond yourself. But if you keep going, just like riding a bicycle, sooner or later you start figuring it out. And so evidence then, not only in the scientific measurement has been important, but now we're seeing I honestly am probably more surprised than anybody by some of the things that we're witnessing in the last year. I mean, we're talking about blind people seeing, deaf people hearing, tumors disappearing right before our eyes. We're seeing people with Parkinson's disease switch on, people with Raynaud's syndrome, with significant hormonal imbalances, brain tumors. I mean, we've seen so many things in a week's time literally disappear. People with stage 4 cancer just go into remission. So now that evidence of the person actually standing in front of an audience and saying, I had this condition and now it's gone, they have the scans and the measurements to prove it. And they don't look like a movie star, and they don't look young, and they don't look buffed, and they don't look healthy. They just look like a normal person. The audience relates with that person, and they start saying, my goodness, if this person can do it, then it makes sense that I can do it as well. So then that's so important, because the experience leaves a footprint in the quantum field for someone else to step into. But when you're witnessing the evidence in three-dimensional reality, you cannot go back to being the same person again. And that evidence then is happening not only in our measurements, the evidence and changes that are happening in people's bodies and in their lives, not only with their health, but new relationships, new careers, new opportunities, abundance, whatever it is. Once you start applying the formula, you begin to prove to yourself that you're more of the creator of your life and less of the victim of your life.
You are the magnet, and that's the truth. You heard the scientific explanation from Joe Dispenza today. Joe tries to teach us to create our lives consciously. Dr. Dispenza didn't try to convince us that we have the power. That's accepted as a fact. You are the creator and that's it. Joe Dispenza only tries to give us ways to create consciously. Using feelings like gratitude, love and trust can attract our dream life very fast. And Joe only wants us to try this, to apply this advice. It's absolutely free and there's nothing to lose. I tried this and it works, guys. That's why I want to spread this knowledge that's not mine, but it helped me. If you want to spread it also, share this video or give it a like so it can reach broader audience. I hope you enjoyed this video and Joe Dispenza. See you around.